Why the markets will drop 80%. Here are 10 reasons why. I know this sounds completely crazy. Hi, if you're new, my name is Timothy James. I'm a quantitative economist and investor since 2007. And before you march into the comments with your angry pants on and tag your favorite TikTok influencer that was likely wrong a year ago saying 2023 was going to be a recession, hear me out. Number 10, credit card delinquency continues to skyrocket. Yeah, your coworkers might be getting Uber Eats and meals out all the time, but what you're not seeing is that the vast majority of them are not paying off those debts. Now, maybe you are, but remember, you do not represent the mass population of the United States, and the masses are in huge debt that they can't afford. Number 9, insolvent banks. Many of us saw First Republic and Silvergate both collapse. There are estimates that upwards to at least 10% of banks are insolvent. There may be drastically more. My speculation down the road is that your big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America are eventually going to eat up the smaller banks. And we're seeing unprecedented amounts of APYs being offered for savings accounts, but what you don't know is when you deposit, say, that $1,000 into that savings account, what they do is they go and invest it, but they don't invest just $1,000, they put leverage on it. And leverage is essentially fake money that doesn't actually exist. So when this starts to collapse on itself, it's not going to be $1,000 loss. It's going to be a $5,000 or $10,000, who knows the number, loss towards that bank and its users. Number 8, student loans. We've talked previously about student loan asset-backed securities, slabs. These are essentially CDOs similar to the 2008 collapse, but when we look at that, there's over 43 million Americans that have student loans totaling $1.7 trillion, and that for 9 million of them, there's between $20,000 to $40,000 of debt. And considering that these younger generations simply don't have liquid income to pay them off, it's a matter of time before that collapses, which will massively impact the institutions that provided those loans. Number 7, layoffs. We've seen layoffs all of 2022, 2023. This is likely to continue going to 2024. We saw UPS today with over 12,000 layoffs planned. A lot of people saying, oh, it's seasonal, but the last time UPS had these types of layoffs, all of 2022 crashed. Not to mention, we're seeing AI advance at record paces, replacing jobs. I mean, heck, today the news broke that Elon Musk implanted a chip into someone's head. Number 6, taxes increasing. Now, this is going to vary depending on who you are, how many dependents you have, but in general, again, across the entire nation, people are getting less back from their refunds and they're actually owing the IRS. This worsens the situation even further for families that will now owe the IRS on a monthly basis on top of their credit card debts, on top of their student loans. Let's dive into home loans and auto loans. Number 5, home values. Now, this one doesn't necessarily work against the market, but it's certainly not helping the market. When we look at home values, yes, rates have dropped minimally. However, home values haven't budged very much at all. So this is not going to provide any breathing room for living conditions, whether someone's renting or getting a new mortgage. This is simply not going to help and just could be like a rock in a hard place. Auto loans. The delinquency for auto loans continues to skyrocket, the average payment being $726. That is not feasible for most average Americans. Not to mention, there has been rumors about the stockpile of used cars going up and new cars remaining on the lot. That in itself is indicative of what the reality for most Americans is that they don't have money for these vehicles. Now, here are some of the real cold, hard facts that are really going to drive this 80% drop. Again, I'm showing you why this economy is essentially a pig with lipstick on it. And before someone jumps into the comments say, oh, it's election cycle, the elections and the presidents have nearly zero impact on the markets, okay? It really comes down to the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and monetary policy at that time. Number 3, international investment is dropping, okay? It's no mystery that the US has $35 trillion of debt. We're at a point where the interest on debt is getting nearly as big as the entire Department of Defense budget. We can't even pay down the interest to start attacking the principal. This leads to a lack of faith in the dollar and the entire monetary system from countries like Japan. Here we see that they're not buying nearly as much US debt anymore. As those foreign investments decrease, it's less likely that our economy is going to survive. And it's not just Japan, it's multiple countries. Number 2, commodities. Okay, right now we're enjoying a period of low gas prices. Oil is cheap, but ask yourself seriously, do you think that that is going to last forever, that we're always going to stay below $3 a gallon for gas? No. Ask yourself seriously, what economy is the US? And you're likely right, it's services and technology. But when it comes to hard commodities, things that actually make the world turn around, things like oil, lumber, corn we actually produce a lot of, steel. And every year we're watching more and more countries that we're import dependent off of get angrier and angrier with the US. And a lot of this has to do with foreign policy. We see BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and multiple other countries joining that coalition to basically economically destroy the US. And the very last reason, I saved this for last because I know most people have left the video already, but when it comes down to basically a technical analysis, take a look at this chart. When was the most tangible value, the tangible dollars that came into the market? Oddly, you may think it was 2020, but it was 2008, 2009 when most of the money comes in. And you can see that over the years, the volume has been decreasing, which goes back to this is leverage in the system. When you look at this fixed range volume profile, we have been riding this bubble for a long time. And in fact, I think we've got more to go. My short-term estimates is 5,200. We may even go to 6,000, but an 80% drop from there takes the S&P 500 down to 1,000. And then again, it goes back to why are we on this bubble? Again, it's that leverage, that magic money in the system. You think about it, Meta, for example, generated $11 billion revenue. And you honestly ask yourself, like, what value does Meta actually bring to us? Yet its market cap is over $1 trillion. It just doesn't make sense. So what's the point of all this? What do you do with this information? First off, I think that we still have bull market ahead of us. But to prepare yourself, make as much money as you possibly can now. And don't get caught holding the bag when this collapses, okay? You don't want to see your portfolio drop 80%. The next question, when is this going to happen? I speculate sometime mid-2024. You won't be able to see the crash until it's in hindsight in 2025, and there will be a major catalyst that causes this. Maybe it's World War III. Maybe it's the plague. Maybe aliens come in and start abducting people. But if you don't know how to utilize stops and or you don't know how to ever take a profit, you might want to learn that pretty quickly. Thanks for stopping by. This landscape mode is a real pain.